Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, _G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, and Twitter. Slide some DMs wherever you see me. If you got something you want to ask, something you want me to cover, or I don't know, if you want to say hi. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues. Going to pick up an ultimate best bet at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that, though you probably will see that clipped onto YouTube Shorts and Instagram if you want to jump in and just get the high water mark or the top of the list, instead of going through each game by game with the hashtag analysis. Going to start in England, but if you're not a member of my Patreon yet, check it out, patreon.com. So that's the _G Warner. Got a new sign up today, which I was planning to shout out if I could still keep the Dan Yacker, thank you for coming in. Appreciate that. And hopefully we will start off or continue a really great run. College basketball has been super hot, over 80%, over 70% of what I've been putting out on pregame. I'm going to try to keep that going as well and really try to get as many of those stoppage time goals to avoid us for this weekend. So going to go through the top 5 European leagues. Got some, if you're not a member of BetOnline or SportsBetting.ag, check the promo codes below the podcast description. And thank you, as always, for your support. So we'll start in England, as I've said 4 times now. And we'll start on Saturday. We had midweek matches this week. I'm still yet to be caught up completely on them. I try to watch every match across the leagues I'm covering, but we'll see how far I get along before Saturday kicks off. So we'll start the early one. Crystal Palace hosting Liverpool. I don't have a ton of information on where these lines have gone, but currently Crystal Palace, a 1-goal underdog, with all the juice on Liverpool on the road. Over under is 2 3/4, and it is juiced very heavily to over. A little surprising to see any Crystal Palace match with a heavily juiced over, especially at 2 3/4. But with the state of their defense really causing or having big problems, their opponents are causing problems for the Crystal Palace defense, and really no offense to speak of. Big problems for Crystal Palace at this point. And they welcome Liverpool, who did get a workman-like victory on the road at Sheffield United. I'm not sure it was their best performance. They seemed to rip off Mohamed Salah pretty early when he's usually a 90-minute guy. So I guess they were probably like, we don't think Sheffield is going to get. I mean, they're only up 1-0 at that point, from what I remember. So I'm not sure that makes a ton of sense to me, but maybe there's some injury stuff there. Who knows? Certainly Salah would impact this line, but it's bigger than I made it. I don't know where I want to get involved with Crystal Palace, I got to say. And I mean, a giant total here, not yet about what I made it, but I'm expecting this to move to 3 before it kicks off. I think that would probably be the minimum for me to be interested in under, to get that push on 3, because Liverpool are one of those sides that can get 3 themselves. I think from side point of view, I don't really want to get involved with Crystal Palace. I feel like their 1-0 deficits can turn to 2-0 pretty quickly, especially against a team of the firepower of Liverpool. Move now to the big window, the onslaught of matches at 10 a.m. Eastern time here in the United States, but 9 a.m. in Dallas, where I'm recording from. And we'll go to Manchester United hosting Bournemouth. Currently, Manchester United, a 1-goal favorite, juices split both ways, which is fairly complimentary of, I think, Bournemouth's run of late. I mean, they've been outperforming, or at least been playing a lot better, more to the Andoni Iraola style, and that's worked fairly well, I think, so far. But total we got is 3, juiced all the way to over, which feels really big to me. Manchester United have not been scoring at all. Had a really good first half against Chelsea this midweek. That's about as far as I got in the match, so apologies, I haven't gotten further than that. But I'm not necessarily a believer in that one performance against this completely all over the place Chelsea side that has no clue what they're doing. Their veterans are not leaders. Their captains are just rotated, it seems, pretty much whenever you've I don't know how they're choosing. Like, Cole will be on their captain midweek. I don't know how to say that, but we'll get to Chelsea more later. So Bournemouth, a 1-goal underdog on the road at a Manchester United side, have not been great at home, have not been beating teams handily. There's a lot of safety there. If Bournemouth somehow could pull off a shock road victory, I mean, they're to win in regulation odds at Bet Online right now are plus 465. So what's that? Less than well, I guess a little more than 20% chance to win. I don't know, or less than 20%, excuse me, probably like 15%, 14% in that range. I'm not sure I'm calling for a victory. I think a draw is a possibility, also plus 365. So a little bit more likely to draw than win, of course. But I feel like I've been kind of riding Bournemouth and unders. It's been I feel like I should have won the last two matches going both of them. Did win this midweek on the road at Crystal Palace, but unfortunately a late goal cost us the Aston Villa match the last weekend. But you could argue that Bournemouth maybe are going to be really feeling their legs a lot more. Manchester United used to playing 2 matches in a week, where Bournemouth have not. And this will be basically the third in a week, which is going to be really tough for Bournemouth. But I'm interested in that +1. I like the full goal of insurance. I also like the strategy that Bournemouth employ, which is a lot of defending, which does zap legs more than you'd suspect. But they're going to try to sit back. They're going to have a lot of players behind the ball loaded up to defend, and then really trying to spring counterattacks on the wings with their I think Anthony Iraola, the former Rayo manager, would like some of his Rayo wingbacks, but he doesn't have them. He does have some pace in Kirkez, who definitely is a questionable defender, to say the least. But I just really like the setup for fading Manchester United, getting a big goal of insurance and a push on 3, which might even hit 3.25 before this kicks off. Wolves then host Nottingham Forest. Currently, Wolves a half a goal favorite with all those juice at home. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to under. Nottingham Forest have looked horrible lately, on their way to a 4th loss in a row. I think we're on 3 losses and we're down 2-0 at halftime, which is about as far as I got to halftime for a few of these matches later in the match day. But Wolves were very caution heavy. They were cautious, is probably the best way to say that, with their game at home against Burnley, a team they should be much better than. And I was really planning to play under, but just felt like Burnley might be feeling themselves after blowing out Sheffield United. And we hadn't really seen a pragmatic approach from Burnley this season. We got that, but I think it was more Wolves just being very, very conservative and not being willing to take chances. Once they took a 1-0 lead, they really just wanted to pass the ball around. I don't know that's going to work forever. It will not work in the Premier League. We've seen that not work for Jose Mourinho at Tottenham Hotspur, but ultimately Wolves are a much lower caliber squad that are trying to just stay in the league. And they've got a good chance to get 3 points at home against Nottingham Forest side that's really been struggling. Now, my issues with Nottingham Forest are a weird captaining with their returnee from Atletico Madrid, his name is escaping me. Center back, maybe it'll come to me. Anyway, coming back of a long injury absence, then came in for an injured player at halftime, got a yellow card almost immediately, and then was really, really bad on the first goal for Fulham this week, which Fulham scoring 2.5 is banana land to me. That's not something. I mean, when Raul Jimenez is on the score sheet, you know that things are going wrong in the opposing defense. So Nottingham Forest are going on the road here. I don't think I want anything to do with that half of a goal. I think they can lose here. Probably think they will lose here. Draw not impossible, but there's no safety unless they get a result. And I think that's really hard to suspect. I do think Wolves will be very conservative again. We saw that against Burnley, who are one of the weaker teams in the league. So I expect that to be something similar against a slightly better, but still weak Nottingham Forest. I don't really see where goals come from. They try to bring Origi, who's like honestly a hired hand, or he's an assassin, comes in no matter where he plays, whether it's Milan or Liverpool, and comes off the bench and puts literally the ball on target, or makes threatening actions, or takes shots that look like they might go in. I don't know if Chris Wood will come in, because they keep rotating strikers, and honestly it might have been 3 days too soon for Chris Wood and his old legs to play. I don't know that I have a lot of faith in Nottingham Forest. I'm not sure that I ever did. On the road, they're a lot more conservative, which I think plays this under as well. Moving next to Brighton hosting Burnley. Currently Brighton a 1.25 goal favorite. All the juice on Burnley on the road. Over under is 3, and it is juiced heavily to under. I don't know where Burnley goes with this one. I mean, probably disappointed in a 1-0 loss, but it was a fairly good showing for a team that's looked far off the pace for a lot of this Premier League season. Brighton came from behind and stole, probably not stole. They probably deserved a victory at home against Brentford. Another home match, that's huge. Big favorite here, though they have not been playing anywhere near like the good team that we expected them to be. I don't really know where to go with this total because Brighton are going to be playing offense the whole time. I feel like the push on three is important. I wouldn't lose that if you like under there. And maybe that might be where I go with this one because I don't think I want to touch Burnley. I do feel like a lot of the under that Burnley played at Wolves was more Wolves just not really doing much. But at 3, it's bigger than I made it. So I guess I'll put that on my list as a potential under 3, but I don't think I want anything to do with the side. And that's something I'm going to try to do this weekend is be a little bit more conservative with road teams that they might not be able to defend. And once they fall behind, the floodgates will open. Sheffield United then hosts Brentford. Currently, Sheffield U, a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Brentford on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice a little bit to over. Brentford with a really good start, taking the lead on the road at Brighton, though it was against the run of play. And then Mbomo got hurt. And they started to make some big mistakes, and that's what they've been doing. They played fourth back, which is not what they usually do, especially not against one of the better offensive teams in all of England, or maybe even you could argue the world as a Europa League team. This is a big step for Brentford. This is one of their, I guess, easiest chances on the road to get a victory. They're favored here, which I just don't really necessarily believe in them as much. I feel like Brentford have had a very inconsistent year. Unfortunately, a lot of where I want to back Brentford is an underdog, preferably a 1-goal underdog, so they can give up 2 stoppage time goals on the road at Manchester United and still push. So that was brutal for them and trying to finish in mid-table or higher in the table or fight for Europe. Chris Wilder coming back for Sheffield United. We're gonna see a better defensive type of setup, I would suspect, but I don't know really what to expect from a Sheffield United offense. So if you're playing them here, you're hoping they find a goal, or you're hoping they keep Brentford out on set pieces where they're so good, or which to me kind of feels like Brentford's avenue to goals, which are low expected goal type of shots or attempts. I guess I got to put Sheffield United on the list at getting a half of a goal. Do I like under 2.5? I guess I do a little bit because I'm questioning where the offense comes from for Brentford, especially after Mbomo, I think, rolled his ankle. If he sprained it, I don't know that he'll be back anytime soon, especially not after only a couple days. Last but not least, on Saturday, the nightcap, Aston Villa hosts Arsenal. Aston Villa, a quarter-goal underdog at home. All the juice on Arsenal on the road. Over-unders 2.75, juice to over. Aston Villa, great home team. What a line of matches, getting Manchester City at home and then Arsenal at home just a couple days later. I question how that's going to impact Aston Villa's legs. The nice part, I guess, if there is a nice thing here, is that they've been playing Europa League or Europa Conference League and have been playing on Thursdays and then Sundays. So they're used to potentially, I guess, short rest, but this is really going to try them, and I feel like it's a huge advantage for Arsenal. With that said, I do think Villa at home are awesome, and they play really well there, and the crowd will probably add a much different level of energy that they'll need. So I like that Aston Villa getting a quarter of goal. I also feel like Arsenal they've been scoring a ton of goals lately. Last match was against Luton Town on the road, which is helpful because they're like the worst team in the league. Thought they were really fortunate to score a lot against Lens, and then started off the match really hot against Wolverhampton, and then did nothing after that, even against a backup goalkeeper. Aston Villa's going to play a really high line, which is concerning, but they're going to go after Arsenal, and I do like the Villains at home. I think I want to see this hit 3 before I play it. Let's see where I made this number. Yeah, I had it right about 3, so it's a little low for me at the moment, but we'll see if it potentially could get there. I think Aston Villa getting a quarter of a goal is my biggest interest in that one. Moving to Sunday, Fulham hosts West Ham, Battle of the Hams. Fulham, the West London version, they're a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice, and West Ham on the road. Over-unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. I guess this is feeling like Fulham can suddenly score goals again, which I'm not a believer in. Raul Jimenez finally hit the target for the first time in forever. And really that looked like more of a Nottingham Forest problem. And then they scored 3 and couldn't hold a late 3-2 lead against Liverpool. On the road at Anfield is tough, but I think that speaks to the negatives that you see with Fulham, who are a defensive side that when their defense doesn't work, they're in real big trouble. As for West Ham, I mean, coming off a really tough match on the road at Tottenham, getting a quarter of a goal, though, I thought there would be a pick 'em. So I'll take that quarter of a goal. Yes, it's very juiced at the moment, might fall down to that pick 'em I was expecting. But for now, I like that quarter of a goal. And I like under 2.5. I mean, West Ham have been way outperforming the goals that were expected in their matches, both offensively and in a negative sense, defensively. I'm expecting Fulham to return to the mean. No, I don't expect them to score much. Next, we'll go to Everton hosting Chelsea. Currently, Everton a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice over unders 2 3/4, just a little bit to over. I just want to be against Chelsea as much as I can. They continue to get these prices which don't reflect who they are as a team, more so the name on their chests or the badge on their chests or hearts or whatever. So Everton getting a quarter of a goal at home, very interested. I think their crowd will be insane. They're still got the Premier League corrupt stuff going, hashtags. Don't expect that to stop anytime soon. And I like under 2 3/4, though. I think my bigger question is with the Chelsea defense and if they can keep it all together, because they were all over the place against Manchester United earlier this week. I suspect that I'll probably want to see a 3 before it kicks off, before I want to get involved, though it's still above the 2.5 I was expecting. So maybe I won't get that, or maybe I will, and I'll feel very happy or fortunate to have it. Luton Town then hosts Manchester City, and the reverse of Aston Villa with brutal Arsenal than Man City, as opposed to Villa getting Man City than Arsenal. Anyway, tough for those two teams on short rest. Luton now currently a 2 1/4 goal underdog at home with more of the juice. Over unders 3.5, juiced all the way to under. I don't know necessarily what to think about Luton Town trying to hang around in this matchup. I don't think I want to play under. I don't think I want to play their side. So I'll move on to the last match of the week for England, and that is Tottenham hosting Newcastle. Currently Tottenham a quarter goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over unders 3, juiced all the way to over. I'm looking to back unders with Newcastle as much as I can. I'm just not really a believer in their offense, nor do I really believe that Tottenham can really break them down too much. The problem with playing unders with Tottenham is that they play Ange ball, and they're going to play with the highest line in the league, not named or not known as Aston Villa. So there's a lot of danger here in potentially playing under. But at the 3, I'm interested. I still feel like Newcastle will try to control this game and try to make it not as hectic, though I do worry that when you play a hectic team in a soccer match, it's really hard to slow them down. College basketball teams can really slow the pace if they want to, if they wish to. Open games just threaten and tempt the opponents. So we might see I probably can't play under, even though it's bigger than I made it. I don't really know. I mean, it's close to what I made it, I guess, but I like the push on 3, but that might just be and stay a lean for now is probably my expectation. So for my best bet, I'm gonna go with that West Ham getting a quarter of a goal. I feel like unfortunately I'm just not a buyer, believer, or anything in Fulham. I don't really think that what they've done recently is sustainable. I mean, they've got to do a lot more to prove that they're actually able to score goals, which I don't think they will be able to. So with that said, I'll make West Ham getting that quarter of a goal my best bet from the English Premier League. Moving now to La Liga in Spain. We have Getafe, who I'm wearing a kit of. If you can see it, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe for on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. That's huge. You probably can see video on there if you're really that interested in watching me as I talk, as opposed to just listening to this angelic voice, as some have said, or demonic, whichever one you prefer. Getafe currently a pick'em with all the juice right now at home. Over unders 1 3/4 with the juice all the way to over. They're at home against Valencia, if I haven't said that yet. I was hoping to play under here, but this total is well below where I was expecting it to be or hoping it to be. And I'm not playing unders below 2. Minimum is 2, and even those I don't really want. Valencia, they have been playing, I mean, Girona with another late win. This time Valencia were the victims. Eventually that's going to stop, but I guess if it happens every week, then maybe it won't. Valencia took a lead, got fortunate, I think, to get that lead, but ended up squandering it. They've kind of entered a rough patch, young team, inconsistent play. I think we can expect that. I don't know what to believe with Hetafe, but they're going to be really physical, and you never know. Red card comes out, then that total's really in danger at 1 3/4. Moving to Saturday, Alaves hosts Las Palmas. Currently, Alaves playing really well. A half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Las Palmas on the road. Over under is 2, juiced a little bit to under. Las Palmas is going to try to control possession. Alaves might concede it to them, or might not be able to do much about it. For that reason, I'm very interested in Las Palmas getting a half of a goal. We probably will see this drop to a quarter before kickoff, but I'm not so worried about losing that. I also like under, but 2 I feel like is very low. I think with these two lack of offenses, though, I think there's a good chance we'll push on 2 or potentially be goalless. I think that could be possible. So I'll put 2 on my list as a potential. Real Betis then hosts Real Madrid. Currently a battle of I'll pick the real team to win here. Ha ha ha. Anyway, Betis a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice on Real Madrid on the road. Over unders 2 3/4, just a little bit to under, or actually a lot to under. Not all the way, but close. Real Betis have not been scoring at all. They're going to have trouble, I think, defending Real Madrid, as everyone everyone does. Plural stuff in soccer world is really confusing because it's really against everything we've learned to speak in English in America. But regardless, Real Betis don't score. They're going to have a huge crowd behind them. They're going to probably make this a tough match for Real Madrid, who at this point just go over despite any sort of realistic nature of their matches hitting overs. They just seem to. For that reason, I don't know that I'm as interested in the home dog, I got to say, until I get more than a half of a goal, which we might get 3/4, but even then I think I want a +1. So at this point, I think just under 2 3/4 is my interest there. Villarreal then hosts Real Sociedad. Currently, Villarreal a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Real Sociedad on the road. Over under is 2.5, just a little bit to under. I think there's a lot of respect here on the Real Sociedad number. Villarreal were kind of stolen a win late. Yes, you could argue they did commit a foul, scoring a goal on a late counterattack. Would have been the last kick of the match, which I think would have been my 3rd loss in the last kick of the match of the weekend. So I'm really, really glad that I don't know, for once La Liga officiating bailed me out. Though I feel like it was a deserved foul. So I'm not sure to give them any credit because I hate them. But regardless, Villarreal quarter goal underdog at home is not very respectful. These two teams were battling it out for Champions League last season, but how the mighty or not so mighty Yellow Submarine have fallen. Maybe they're more doing submarine things. But the Amarillo Submarino just really not doing so great this year on their 3rd manager, a very conservative one. So for that reason, I like under, because I just don't feel like Real Sociedad's offense has been firing, they've been relying upon Omar Sadiq, who's so good outside the box shots. I don't know if he can continue to make those every match. I feel like the offense is dried a little bit for Sociedad while they're balancing multiple competitions, dominating in the Champions League, potentially going to win their group with Inter Milan in it, which would be really impressive. But Villarreal, I think, are going to try to defend them. They're giving them a lot of respect that I'm not sure they need to. But I think Villarreal are trying to stop the slide, and the conservative nature of their manager is not really a great sign. But under 2.5 is it's a good time for that. Mallorca then hosts Sevilla in the nightcap on Saturday. Pretty small names for a Saturday top spiel, as they'd call it in German. I don't know what they call it in Spanish, though. I speak that language much more. Mallorca currently a pick 'em with more of the juice. Over unders 2 1/4, and it juice very heavily to under. This is a match I really don't want to see hit 2, because I feel like that means we'll push on a 1-1 final as opposed to winning half of our bet on an under 2 1/4. I'm looking for Mallorca to move to an underdog. I don't know if that's going to occur, but I feel like Mallorca are the side I want here, and I really like under. I want to be against Sevilla as much as I can. I want to be against their offense. I don't know if they've gotten rid of Diego Alonso yet, who really came out of nowhere. I mean, the audacity of Spanish clubs to hire either guys that have just failed everywhere they've been, and then pick random guys from Uruguay. It seems like there are always Uruguayans that come in with like very little experience or success. I mean, Diego Alonso, former Uruguayo national team manager, who didn't make the World Cup. I mean, like, what are we doing? But or didn't perform well. Maybe did they make the World? I don't think they made the World Cup. Maybe they made the World Cup. They did make the World Cup. Failed there, or there's some bad things that were happening. Anyway, regardless, whatever it is, like loser guy they bring in, they're expecting him to all of a sudden turn around to Sevilla side that have been failing. I guess there's a lot of issues in the owners' boxes or on the board, whatever. Mallorca are a perfect spot to take advantage of that. I hope that some money comes in and bet Sevilla. I do like Mallorca getting a pick 'em though at home, because I think a draw is a result is likely for Mallorca in their own building. Or Estadio. On Sunday, we have Atletico Madrid hosting Almeria in the early matchup. Atleti, a 2-goal favorite. a little bit more juice. Over under is 3.5, juice pretty heavily to under. Almeria have brought in a new manager to basically shore up their defense, which has basically killed their offense. But it's good for unders because there's really not much threat for Almeria. The problem is they go to the Wanda Metropolitano. Atleti coming off of a disappointing loss at Barcelona where they didn't really offer much. I expect them to be a lot more aggressive. With that said, 3.5 is a lot. If Almeria don't score, it'll be hard to keep Atleti below 4, but ultimately I think they're going to try to stay in this match as long as possible. And under 3.5 is of interest to me, especially because I can't imagine I made it the number that high. Yeah, I made it above 3, which credit me for that, I guess. Pat myself on the back. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. But I think it's one of those things where that's a big price for a team that might not score at all on the road. Almeria coming off a goalless draw with Real Betis. I think they played against 10 men for an hour or so. Granada then hosts Athletic Club. Currently, Granada 3/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Athletic Club. Over under is 2 3/4, just a little bit to under. So Granada fired their manager, who was very aggressive, had a good run at Levante, and then went really sour. Did nothing for Granada this season. Now they get Athletic Club, who have been scoring way more goals than expected, smashed, pasted, steamrolled, whatever you want to call Rayo Vallecano last weekend, which I was not expecting, but impressive for them. They've been playing really well to start the season, or in Champions League discussion, and that's exactly where the Bilbao club wants to be. I don't think there's anything I can do here besides under. Granada, I don't really trust, though at home I expect them to put forth the best effort they get or they can. 2 3/4 just feels high based on the Granada, especially I think losing Brian Zaragoza, their real stud young player who I think was the first player called up to the Spanish national team and eons, however long that was. Total's about what I made it, so it's not like we're getting a ton of value, but would love to see a 3 pop up eventually. Cadiz and hosts Osasuna. Should be one of the lower scoring matches of the weekend. Cadiz currently a pick'em. All the juice on Osasuna on the road. Over is 2, juice all the way to over. Maybe we get a 2 1/4. I'm gonna be holding out hope for that. Would like to see Cadiz an underdog at home too, because Osasuna have not been playing well. Got a good draw with Real Sociedad last weekend, but that feels like the maximum they can really do this season. I don't really trust, or I don't question their coach. I trust Jagoba Arrasate, but it's been a really rough year for him, especially with some higher expectations in the Europa Conference League playoffs coming into the year. But I don't really know what to expect with this one. Besides no goals, and for Cadiz at home to play really well. We'll see if they get their goalkeeper Conan Ledesma back. He's important, but I feel like their backup has done fairly well filling in. So I like that pick 'em, potentially getting to 1/4 of a goal, and I also like under 2, potentially getting 2 1/4. Barcelona then hosts Girona in the nightcap on Sunday, a big Catalunya derby de Catalunya, potentially, even though I don't think Girona's ever been thought of on that same level, especially not like Espanyol, who always are seen, I think, as Barcelona's real rivals in that region. Barcelona 1-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under 3 1/4, and it's juice heavily to under. I was thinking there wasn't much for me to really want to get involved with here. Girona, especially with the late show. Though getting a full goal of insurance is bigger than I expected, and it potentially might get a goal and a quarter, which that's going to be really hard for me to resist. I think even the +1 right now, getting odds is going to be hard for me to resist. Really, I think anything at +1 or better, Girona I like. And I think under 3 1/4 is interesting as well, because I just don't necessarily believe that Barcelona are a goal-scoring team at this point. Robert Lewandowski is way out of form. You could say he's old and potentially past it. I don't know that it was speed that was really costing him finishing against Atletico Madrid, but he had 3-4 chances possibly and scored none of them. Girona have been, I mean, they're the young squad. They're the heartthrobs. They're the unexpected team that's going to try to hang around the Champions race and Champions League positions, part of the Man City group. So I think we should have probably expected this a little sooner than I don't think there were any expectations for it, but we probably should give them some credit. I think Girona make this a really tough match. I think they're here to stay, at least in the race for Champions League. And I think Barcelona are far off the pace from where they were last year, which they weren't even that good when they won La Liga. So I like Girona, and I like under 3 1/4, Girona +1. Last but not least, Monday, we have Rayo Vallecano hosting Celta de Vigo, which should be a very low scoring match. Rayo, a 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice on Celta de Vigo on the road, and over under is 2 1/4, juice all the way to over. I mean, give me 2.5. I'm actually more interested, I think, as I'm talking about it, in the Celta de Vigo getting a quarter of a goal. But I think my biggest interest is that under 2.25. I don't know where goals come from in this matchup. Monday night matches seem to be very slow and quiet in La Liga. I don't know if Monday Night Football in Spain has caught the disease of Monday Night Football, American football, NFL here in the United States, which was just horrible for so long, to the point where I think there are 2 Monday Night Football games this week, just to give ESPN some credit for the dog babies that they've been forced to broadcast the last few seasons. I don't see where goals come from. I don't really know why this number is as high as it is. So there you have it. I think I like that under 2.25. And for my best bet for Spain, I think I'm going to stay with that Monday night matchup. It's a long way away from when I'm recording it on Friday, but we might even get a much better 2.5 type number where we push on a 1-1 with a late stoppage time equalizer or something like that. So that'll be my best bet, and I'll go with the under 2.25 because that's where the number is currently. Next, I'll move to Serie A and to Italy, and assuming that I can keep this all up. Okay, and we'll start with a Friday match. We have Juventus hosting Napoli in just about an hour. Juventus, a quarter goal favorite at home. Juice is split both ways. Over unders 2.25. Juice to over, surprisingly. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like Juventus matches all go the same way. Forgive me if you've heard this before, but literally they go take a 1-0 lead and then they sit in defense and say, come get us. And no one can do that at all, really. So I don't necessarily know why that's going to all of a sudden change. So I like under 2.25. It's probably going to be on my card today. Sneak peek, and that's what you get for watching me live. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review. And if it's something regardless which podcast you're angling it to, I'll figure out who should read it. And if it's very broad, I'll just have all my guests say something about it, or my co-host is probably a better way to put it. So moving to Saturday, we have Verona hosting Lazio. That's a real beauty of a match. Verona somehow scored 3 goals, got a late equalizer in their last match day on Sunday, I think it was. They're half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice a little bit to over. I don't see where goals come from in this matchup at all. I don't know that I necessarily want to back Verona as the home dog, but I do want to play against Lazio and that lack of offense, which is still considered, because they're in Champions League and advancing, that they are capable offensively, and they are far from that. Big matchup in the next window. Atalanta hosting Milan. Currently Atalanta pick 'em with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, and just very heavily to under. I'm a little bit tempted by Atalanta giving a price to Milan. I don't really think that they're that strong. Looked really poor on their trip to Torino, though one of those teams that might be a bogey team for them, because they wouldn't give Atalanta the ability to possess the ball. And it was a big matchup for Duvan Zapata, the former Atalanta player, who scored at least twice, including the last kick of the match, to kill the under. Thank you, Duvan. At least he won the side for me. But Milan, I'm waiting to see if they get to a quarter goal underdog. I don't see that happening, or I didn't see that beforehand. We'll see if it gets there. But I like that under 2.5. I don't think I want anything to do with pick'em right now with Milan, but I like under 2.5 just because I don't think Atalanta are the same offensive side that they have been in the past, and Milan certainly are nowhere near their goal scoring form. Inter Milan then hosts Udinese in the nightcap on Saturday. Inter, a 1.75 goal favorite. All the juice on Udinese on the road. Over under is 3, just a little bit to under. I think Inter are the best team in Italy, one of the best teams in Europe, honestly. I don't know necessarily that Udinese can cause them some threat to win this match. I think they're going to try to go in there and defend this as much as they can. It makes me want to play under 3 because I like that. That push seems very important to me. But I'm not sure it's one of my strongest plays at the moment, because it's one of those big underdogs on the road where things get ugly, especially against a very competent offense. Moving to Sunday, Frosinone hosts Torino in the early matchup, which I think is at like 1:30, 12:30, something like that, Italian time. I know I missed the kickoff of it trying to bet a game while I was there in Italy this year. So I'm just going to have to set alarms. I think that's my 2024 resolution number 1. Frosinone, a quarter goal underdog at home to Torino. Over under is 2.25, juice to over, and a little bit more juice on Torino on the road. Frosinone are not really a team that I want to back, only getting a quarter of a goal at home. I think that they've shown that they are not great. They are a newly promoted that just aren't in my humble opinion, at the levels of Torino. Torino, I think, are making a push for Europe and are a real team that I want to see continue to be an underdog. So I'd like probably for them to stumble here. Though I think the stumbling would probably be a goalless draw, which I'd most prefer, because I do like under 2.25. That's probably my biggest interest. I think the home dogs are going to perform here, but I don't really see a lot of offense. And Frosinone won't have much of the ball, which they're used to, but Torino will keep a lot of it, especially on the road for a road team in Serie A. Monza then hosts Genoa. Currently, Monza a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under 2.25, juiced all the way to under. So potentially could get a half here on Genoa, which I'd be interested in. They did play Coppa Italia midweek, but they rotated significantly. Besides maybe Retegui starting up top. I'm still wondering where Albert Gudmundsson is. Please come back. We need you. Scream the Gifone support or El Grifone supporters. Over under 2.25, juiced all the way to under. I don't want to play under 2, but I haven't seen any Monza offense like we did last season, and probably because their best players got pried away in transfer windows. So lean to under there. And to Genoa, I guess I like that quarter goal, speaking again my negative feelings towards Monza. Salernitana then hosts Bologna. Currently Salernitana a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under 2.25, just a little bit to over. Salernitana looked pretty bad against Fiorentina last weekend, but hung on to I guess to a 3-goal loss, 3-0. And that was, I guess, good if you had under 2.75. You only lost half your stake. Bologna have not been a real goal scoring team for years now. They will have more opportunities against Salernitana without much threat, I don't think. Salernitana have been really weak and look like a team that are going to fight relegation the rest of the year. For that reason, the home dog, I think the biggest thing I'd be interested in there is under 2.25, though it's pretty low. Roma then hosts Fiorentina in the nightcap on Sunday. Roma a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice a little bit to under. Fiorentina, they were really competitive and got a really weakened Milan team on the road and should have equalized late, if not for Mike Magnan's face, but really just haven't been able to deliver results. And I feel like I've been fairly disappointing. Plus had Coppa Italia midweek. They were used to rotating and playing 2 match days a week, but with the Europa Conference League. But I think they probably went more for a Coppa Italia play than Conference League, where they feel like their backup team should be able to win. So now they go to Roma. Roma, the kings of the late show. I mean, what a huge comeback victory. Fortunate penalty, I thought. And then really fortunate deflection to come back from 1-0 down after Sassuolo got a red card in the second half. I think Fiorentina is the side I want here. Where do I back them? I don't know. A quarter of a goal pretty much says they're equal to Roma, though getting odds certainly changes that math and that equation a little bit. I think I like under 2.25 best, but I'm not really. I mean, I'm afraid of the Roma front line of Lukaku and Dybala. They look awesome. I worry that Roma they haven't looked very good this year, and they can't keep winning these matches. They can't keep getting away with this at the end, but they've been doing it. And Fiorentina are certainly not the prom queen that I always want to back. And we have 2 matches on Monday, so I'll get away from talking about the Forza Viola and Firenze Empoli. They host Lecce, currently Empoli, a pick'em at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice all the way to over. Where the love for Empoli comes from, I'm not sure. Lecce are one of the most competitive sides, despite the low budget in Serie A. They play everyone tight. They come from behind. They did that a lot early in the season. Goals have sort of dried up for them lately, which I think puts me more interested in under 2.25. I'm not going to touch anything with the pick'em just yet, but getting odds, potentially get a quarter of a goal before this kicks off on Monday. Big stand for Empoli to try to get up the table and try to stay and really get 3 points from one of their potential relegation rivals. But I think Lecce are much better, so I'd like to see them an underdog. I like under 2.25 as well, because I just don't think Caputo can continue to carry Empoli's scoring load with nothing else around him. And last but not least, Cagliari hosts Sassuolo. Currently, Cagliari a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Sassuolo on the road. Over under is 2.75, and it is juiced to over. Hesitant to back Sassuolo after breaking my heart, ripping it out, whatever they did to me against Roma. But young player getting a red card, though not as young as I think I would have expected. But losing the ball, going over it to try to get the ball back, step against someone's ankle, I guess that gets you a red card. And it's always my guy, unfortunately. But Cagliari, I don't think should be favored here. I think Sassuolo are a much better side, a lot better history. Been in the league longer. Cagliari newly promoted. Cagliari have been playing better, but I don't believe in them. And I think I like under 2.75 as well, because it feels tall for me on the Cagliari side that I don't really expect much from offensively. For my best bet from from Italy. I'm gonna go with that Lecce under 2.25. I feel like that price just feels high. I like the road team, and I just don't really have much faith in that home favorite, which I feel like is a false one at best. Moving to Germany in the Bundesliga on Friday, we have Hoffenheim hosting VfL Bochum. Currently, Hoffenheim a 3/4 goal favorite at home with more of the juice on Bochum on the road. Over under 3.25. She's very heavily to under right now. It was 3 earlier in the week. It's climbed to 3.25. I don't know who's backing overs. Bundesliga had a very low scoring week last week. Maybe a return to their overscoring low expected goal values that somehow generate 5 or 6 goals a match. I've been saying that the Bundesliga would start seeing a lot of low scoring matches. I didn't do as well last week, despite I think all but 2 matches going under. They had 1 postponement, so that would be 6 of 8, 75% under. I think I went 2-2 on mine, so disappointing there. But some you could argue that maybe didn't deserve to stay under, but finally that the bell has tolled, and we're seeing some reversion to the mean. Anyway, Hoffenheim, awful home team. Bochum, conservative road team. I think they're going to make this really hard on Hoffenheim to score. And 3.25 seems gigantic. So I'm very interested in Bochum getting that 3/4 and also in that under 3.25. Moving to Saturday in the big onslaught of matches, we have Wolfsburg hosting Freiburg. Wolfsburg coming off a DFB Pokal match midweek. They are a 1/4 goal favorite to Freiburg with more juice on Freiburg on the road. Over under is 2.75, just a little bit to over. Freiburg, got a good win at Mainz last weekend. Not really sure is deserved. Their goal scoring has been really problematic. Wolfsburg have been problematic all over the place, including lots of mistakes. I'm hoping this one hits 3, but I think I'll probably stay away from that 1/4 of a goal underdog on Freiburg because I just don't believe in their performances. They've been great in Europa League, but that's a different competition, to say the least. I think under 2.75 I like there. Heidenheim then hosts SV Darmstadt, a battle of newly promoted. Heidenheim, a 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.75, juice all the way to under. Heidenheim are going to play an open game. They're going to try to be going for it here. Darmstadt are not an offense at all right now. Haven't really been much of this season. They're going to try their best to keep this as low scoring as possible, and I believe they can do it. So I like the under 2.75 there. Next, we'll go to Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Bayern München, who are out of the DFB Pokal, while Frankfurt were playing midweek on the road at Saarbrücken. A 3rd tier side, I think, whatever that's 1, 2, 3, Dreisa Liga. Eintracht Frankfurt at 1.5 goal underdog at home, gigantic, but makes sense. They're playing Bayern, who are extremely well rested, having not played since their goalless draw in Champions League against Copenhagen, and that would be like 2 weeks ago. It almost feels like. Over under 3.25, juice to over, and more juice on the Bayern München side. I guess I get that. I think Frankfurt can keep this tight, but I feel like if you're playing the underdog here, you probably want to play under 3.25 instead. You got a lot more safety there because I don't think Frankfurt want a shootout. I don't think they perform well in a shootout. I guess totals around what I made it. Side is certainly a lot higher, but I guess they're giving a lot more. There's a lot more respect for the Bayern München side coming off. I don't think they're rusty after 10 days or so, but I guess I'll put both on my list, under and Frankfurt. For the next one, Union Berlin, who got a much needed day off and probably some time to work with their new manager. I'm selling him until I'm buying him, so I'm not a believer. Currently, Union, a 1/4 goal favorite at home with more juice. Over under is 2.75, juice to under. They're hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach, who also had DFB Pokal midweek. So that's going to be a trying time for the teams that played in the DFB Pokal versus the teams that did not. The Union haven't won in forever. They're favored, so it automatically makes me interested in Gladbach. And I do like under 2.75 just because I think Union are going to play conservative style. Now, that's how they played in their first match back under the new manager. I don't know if that's what he wants them to do. This is going to be a big testing ground to see kind of what they're going to play like and how they're going to play, as they still have, I think, a chance to get a Europa League spot in Champions League 3rd position. I'm not sure about that, though. I might be wrong. Moving next to Werder Bremen hosting Augsburg. Werder, a pick 'em at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice all the way to under. Werder Bremen are a team I want to be against as much as possible. And stop me if you heard this. Probably it's been years, but I actually really like this Augsburg side. I don't like their players. I don't like that they're low budgeted in a league where money wins things, though a lot of low budgeted team in the German Bundesliga, to be fair. But their new manager has been awesome. They are creating a ton of chances off their press. They had a bit of that with their previous manager. I feel like they're just adding new pressing targets. And this guy, Danish dude, I don't even know his name at this point, but he's been causing a lot of problems. And it was like perplexing the broadcast team. In English, at least, trying to be like, "Oh, why does Augsburg give away so much possession if they are seemingly in control of all these matches?" Well, it's their pressure, and I think they're going to cause big problems at the back foot of Werder Bremen defense. I'm waiting to see if Augsburg move to an underdog, but for now, I like under 3 because I just don't think Werder Bremen are going to have much chance getting up the pitch. I don't think it's going to be a problem for them. Borussia Dortmund then hosts Leipzig in the Topspiel, the Saturday biggest match day, or basically Sunday night football in the United States. For NFL, it's here we got Saturday night football in the German Bundesliga. Dortmund, a pick'em with juice split both ways. Over under is 3.25, juiced a little bit to over. These two teams are fairly even, I guess. Leipzig got bounced out of Pokal, so more rested Dortmund, or more rested on their trip to Dortmund. Dortmund had a road trip to Stuttgart midweek in the Pokal, though you can't really match the Dortmund crowd, and having been in it in the yellow wall, it is awesome, and it kind of makes you a fan even if you bet against Dortmund all the time. Leipzig have really been a bad road team compared to their awesome home form. Certainly high expectations set on how well they play at home. They haven't really scored a ton of goals this year, though. They've been struggling. I mean, should have put it well beyond doubt against Heidenheim last weekend, coming off and had a pretty good start. So I don't know that the hangover from collapsing at Manchester City was that significant of an impact. Would have expected that to affect them early in the match. Yes, they have better rest, but they're usually a very rested team because they have so much depth and they rotate a lot. Dortmund have been kind of using a much thinner roster. I'm interested to see if there's some absentees potentially if this line is suspecting. But for now, at Pick'em, not much for me to do there. And I think I like under 3.25. If you had to make me pick something. Sunday we'll move to Stuttgart hosting Leverkusen. Both play in the DFB Pokal. Stuttgart a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, just a little bit to over. Leverkusen, the best team in the Bundesliga so far, but we'll see. It's a long season. Stuttgart have been really impressive, and playing Undav and Gulassi are very, very scary, and might make Leverkusen have to potentially take them a little bit more seriously. Now, Leverkusen started their season with a home match against Leipzig. Did have a trip on the road to Bayern Munchen, which they drew with a late penalty. Then they drew a match that they probably should deserve to win against Dortmund, but the schedule hasn't been that hard. Now they go on the road to Stuttgart, which is going to be a really tough thing for them. So for that reason, I like Stuttgart getting that quarter of a goal. And I guess I like under 3 here because I think it's going to be two teams that respect the other's offense and are pretty conservative. Last but not least, Köln hosts Mainz 05. Currently Köln a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Mainz on the road. Over under is 2.5, juiced over. I don't know where goals are going to come from in this match. Mainz's new manager has been pretty conservative, as conservative as the last one, but has got better results. So let's keep him around. Köln on the other side, they try to score from their pressure, but it's not as good as Augsburg's. And they got a win finally last weekend on the road at Darmstadt on Friday. I'm not sure that was fully deserved, but got one. Poacher's finish, I think, from David Selke. I don't think there are goals in this match, so I like Mainz getting a quarter of goal, and I like under 2.5. So for my best bet for Germany, let's see, which one am I going to pick here? Promise I'm not looking at other lines just to make sure there's anything missing. I think I like, it's hard to decide because I don't want to give all these matches at the end of the week, but I mean, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Darmstadt under 2.75. I feel like I have no idea how that's going to hit 3 goals. Certainly it could happen some big mistakes. That's usually the way to get there. But I don't necessarily see it happening. So I'll go Darmstadt under 2.75, my best bet on Saturday morning. And then let's move last to Liga. We do have a match on Friday. I'll summarize this all up and get out of here with an ultimate best bet. Montpellier hosts Lens, currently a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice on Lens on the road. Over under is 2.5, juiced very heavily to under right now. I think I lean under here, but I don't know that I feel that Montpellier have been playing great defense lately or just playing well at all. I think it's been a struggle. Wolves have been getting more confident and I think less pragmatic with better players that they got in because they didn't have a lot at the beginning of the season. They sold a lot of them. I don't know what I guess I like under if anything on this one, but the match starts in less than an hour. So I'm not sure many of you can get this if you're listening whenever this finally hits the Apple Podcast feed. If you're listening on there, please leave a 5-star review. That'd be huge. Subscribe on YouTube if you're on the other platform or on Spotify. That helps too. Moving to Saturday, Rennes hosts Monaco. Currently a pick 'em. A little more juice on Rennes at home. Over under is 2 3/4. Juice all the way to over. Rennes are a team I still want to be against. I feel like this is kind of a respectful number for them. Certainly last year would have been a favorite here, I would suspect, but Monaco's the side I want. Don't have much to do with them at pick'em right now, and I don't want to play an under. So not much for me to do there until Monaco move to an underdog. PSG then hosts Nantes. Currently PSG a 2-goal favorite at home. All the juice on Nantes on the road. Over under 3.5. Juice all the way to under. Nantes with a huge upset win over Nice last weekend, but I think their momentum will come to a halt here. They're going to try to keep this as low scoring as possible. I'm not sure I'm a believer in PSG. They'll be working in backup keeper for Donnarumma, who was red carded. But PSG were able to wiggle off the hook at Le Havre last weekend. I don't know. I guess if anything, I like under 3.5, but it's a big total, and I feel like Nantes could get embarrassed potentially. Nice then hosts Reims on Sunday morning, the early one. Nice a half a goal favorite with more of the juice over is 2 1/4, juice all the way to over. Reims are really competitive. I think Nice finally showed. I mean, they've been showing some weaknesses. They haven't scored many goals this season. Their defense has been awesome. But I feel like Reims can really threaten them, and I think that's going to lower the output of the Nice offense. So give me Reims like that, getting a half, and I also like under 2 1/4. Clermont Foot then hosts Lille. Clermont a 3/4 goal underdog. Clermont Foot a 3/4 goal underdog at home with more of the juice. Over just 2.5. Juice all the way under. I don't want to bet against Lille. I don't want to bet unders with Lille. I think Lille are really good and Clermont Foot are bad. If they can get a penalty, maybe they can hang around, and they do that a lot at home, but I'm not going to bet on it. Metz then hosts Stade Brestois. Currently Metz a 1/4 goal underdog at home. More juice on Brest on the road. Over is 2 1/4. Juice is split both ways. Metz are a team I want to back at home, especially an underdog. The Liga market has hated them all season and really their entire time in Liga, and they constantly get them wrong. Metz, I thought, were competitive against Lille last weekend. Didn't get the result that they were looking for. And probably will be pretty motivated at home in front of a decent home crowd. So I like, give me that quarter, and I like under 2 1/4 because I think they're going to play a really slow paced, low scoring game as they do a lot. And I think they will try to nick one at some point and hang on for dear life for it. Strasbourg then hosts Le Havre. Currently Strasbourg a 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under 2 1/4. Juice all the way to under. I have no idea where this line comes from. Strasbourg with a late equalizer midweek to get a draw and a makeup match, which I completely forgot about. My bad for all of you. It would have been an under winner. Le Havre have been awesome. I thought controlled PSG at home, especially with an extra man, but even before the Donnarumma red card, just couldn't stop Kylian Mbappe, who's the best player in the world and most impactful. 1/4 goal underdog and getting odds. I don't think there's any way this misses my card, even if they called me up to start a striker. Under I like as well. Strasbourg, I don't trust the score at all, and that's a little bit of safety in case Strasbourg somehow get a win. I just don't think it happens. So I like Le Havre and under. Lyon then hosts Toulouse. Currently Lyon a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Toulouse on the road. Over under 2 3/4. Juice very heavily to under. What are these French Ligue 1 lines? I mean, I guess they've been keeping me afloat for a while now. I love French football. I think I watch it probably more than almost anyone. I have to watch it on a cell phone because I can't stream beIN Sports in the US. Drives me insane. I might upgrade or find one way to do it. Anyway, from a Lyon perspective, I mean, they're one of the biggest clubs in France, and they are in a huge relegation fight on the 4th manager of the season or something like that, taking like subtweets basically in real life with real reporters about players not being that good. I mean, it's a disaster. Toulouse are fighting to hang in the league, and Europa League was not good for them, and they are in big trouble. But they got the midweek off, which is huge. Finally, I think they're going to be as rested as they can be. Give me Toulouse getting a half of a goal, and I really like under 2 3/4 as well. And last but not least, Lorient hosts Marseille. Currently Lorient a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice on Marseille on the road. Over is 2.5, just a little bit to over. Lorient are going to be really competitive here. They're going to keep this low scoring. I don't know if I really trust them only getting a half of a goal from Marseille, but I like under as well. And that probably is a little bit more safety there. But we'll figure out where we're gonna go with this one because I mean, there's a lot to like in France, and I'm not really a believer in their market really being a good indicator of anything at this point. I just don't really think they have an idea of what's going to happen in their league. So it's now time to get to the best bet portion of the show. As it looks like, unfortunately, Bolcom have dropped to an even 3 with their juice. Let's see if I can find that at another sports book. Potentially that might be a little bit slower of mine. I highly recommend getting as many outs as possible. I'm literally telling you this right now, whether it's a PPH or like a personal, whatever PPH stands for, but like a bookie, if you will. Certainly get someone you trust, and it helps if you lose some money to them early, because I think they'll be more responsible and will be happily to pay you out because they realize they're up a certain amount, or at least that's what I keep telling myself, because I had a rough go there for a little while. I don't know if playing minus 120 juice is worth it on this German Bundesliga total. So I think I'll just wait a little bit until kickoff. Regardless, I got 2 good promo codes in the podcast description, whether you're watching on YouTube or there's in the description there, Apple Podcasts, or on Spotify in the description there. Follow the links. They might look a little weird, but it's just tracking software, so you can make sure you get the bonus. You get 100% match in your deposit up to $500. First time depositor at SportsBetting.ag. To me, it looks exactly like BetOnline. Has the same numbers, same everything. It's just blue instead of red. So go play with the blue side and get free $500. I highly recommend taking every advantage of every cent of that. Don't make $100 deposit, go throw in 500, you get 500 free. You have to use it within 30 days, but I'm sure you can do that. We got enough volume on the channel, especially if you're followed to my Patreon account, patreon.com/real_G Warner, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Easy for me to say. That's the best spot to get all my leans, plays, actions, write-ups, even the ones I don't play, so you can at least kind of follow along with what I'm thinking. Ask me questions on there. Trying to add some stocks tips too, because I'm feeling pretty bullish about the market right now as we head into the holiday season, Santa rally, hopefully. And that might be a notification, someone replying right there. And then if you're, I guess there's also if you're already at sportsbetting.ag or you just don't have a BetOnline account, highly recommend signing up there. You get a 50% bonus for first-time depositors. Use the promo code GW50. Follow the link, I think might be enough, but GW50 will certainly get you in there. And then if you have any problems or questions about that, or how to use Bitcoin or something like that, feel free to slide in my DMs at @real_G Warner on Twitter, Instagram, or Patreon. So let's get to our ultimate best bet portion of the show. I know you've been all hanging around for 55 minutes to get to this portion. So let's do it. So this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, and on Twitter. And this is the ultimate best bet from Betting the Pitch, the European Soccer edition, on this Friday, December 8th. So from England, I like West Ham getting a quarter of a goal. From Spanish La Liga, I like Celta de Vigo under 2.25. In France, I like Le Havre, a quarter goal underdog. In Bundesliga, I like Darmstadt under 2.75. And in Serie A, I like Lecce under 2.25 goals. But for the ultimate best bet on this show, as I wear my Getafe kit, I'm going to go to France, as I feel like that's where I've had the most success lately. I'm going to play Le Havre under, well, I'm going to play there an underdog at home, getting a quarter of or on the road, getting a quarter of a goal at Strasbourg. I also like under there. I guess that's a little bit of a foreshadowing too. But Le Havre, I think, are one of the best teams in Liga. Ligue champions from last season came up, have played their same pragmatic style of football. They don't concede goals, and they're playing one of the worst teams in Liga based on expectations, who've just played midweek. So take Le Havre getting a quarter of a goal. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. For an Apple Podcast or on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. It will be read by whichever co-host. If you want to pick one to read it, I can also do that too. If you want the lyrical undertones of Big East Ben, go ahead and use that one. But thank you for tuning in. We'll do something else. We have a pregame podcast out, college basketball for the weekend. So check out that with my guy, AJ Hoffman. And hopefully we can stay over 70%, currently hitting 72% on pregame. So going to keep that going as long as possible. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all weekend on twitter.com/real_G Warner.